could maybe be. I know it's knee, leg.
Yeah, it's knee,
Yeah,
shin area.
How is that kind of progressing? Do you think?
Yeah, he did a lot with the trainers today and looked pretty good. So, I think it's just going to be day-to-day basis. Well, hopefully we'll see him more tomorrow. A lot of these guys, we got to see some progression, obviously, in the next couple days. So hopefully we'll see that with, Moses and Matt and Zach Brown.
With Jameson and Chris, second consecutive day they're out there, and they seem to be moving around well. Are you optimistic that, hey, we might get them back this week?
I'm optimistic. I try to be optimistic about everybody, but, time will tell. Jameson did a lot more today, which was positive. Still got some soreness a little bit, but he's going to working through it. And then Chris Thompson, I think when you watch him run, there is no issue. There's no issue. So he looks fast. He looks quick. I think he's going to be fine, but, we just got to make sure we protect it.
Jay, I know you're focused on Monday's game, but we haven't got much update on Alex. Have you communicated with him? How's he doing?
Yeah, I went and saw him, and he's going through the rehab or the process of trying to get better. It's a tough road, and anytime you have surgery on your leg, and it's not easy. But he's got a great support system, great doctors, and hopefully he'll recover fast.
Jay, you mentioned Ioannidis being one of the injured players. Presumably his absence or his injury last week is why Tim Settle played more. I was curious, what did you think of his performance, and how has he been coming along this year?
Settle has been one of our most exciting prospects, obviously Payne and the young guys, but Settle has come the furthest, in my opinion. I think he's gotten better, he's gotten stronger, played with better pad level, he's staying on his feet. When we first got him, he was falling down all the time and leaning on people, but now he's showing some explosion and keeping his balance, which is pretty good. So I'm excited about him as a prospect for this football team for many, many years. And he's going to get more and more reps, especially if, like you said, if Matt is struggling. And
sort of with that, then sort of to look ahead, we obviously with Allen, Payne, and Ioannidis, they've been kind of your main three players there. Do you see Settle maybe, say by next year, making that like a four-man unit?
Without a doubt. Stacey McGee is starting to get his feet under him. He's doing a little bit better job, but I do see that rotation being pretty darn good.
What would you have to see from Dunbar, considering he felt really good going into last week and then the injury flared up again? How do you judge that with him?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a unique deal. When you're talking about the nerve and you're talking about that area for a guy who utilizes his speed, it's tough. And that's only something that Quentin can help us along with. We're trying to do everything we can as far as rehab's concerned and seeing the doctors and specialists for the nerve. But at the end of the day, it's all about what he feels comfortable with. And last week he felt comfortable enough to play, but you could see he was struggling with it as the game went on. Maybe tomorrow we'll see him out there running around a little bit, but we'll see.
And when Zach went out last week, Sean Dion was the guy who came in over Vigil. What have you seen from Sean Dion that he has elevated himself on the depth chart?
Same thing. I think he's another guy that's he just had his major surgery about a year and a month ago at Alabama. He's starting to get his legs underneath him. He's starting to get his confidence. He's always been and always will be an instinctive player, but now he's starting to be more comfortable with the calls where he's supposed to be, and I think he's starting to feel quicker also. So he's coming along at a great pace, and I think he's ready to step in when he's needed.
Have any of the doctors given you any indication with Quentin that it might be multiple weeks? Have they ever said that, or is it just always been a week to week and they just don't know?
Yeah, I don't know. They've they kind of have it narrowed down to what it is and where it is. It's just a matter of when he feels comfortable where he can actually push off and run fast. I think he can run a little bit, but when he tries to put a lot of weight on it and push and extend his speed, that's where I think he has trouble. He loses function as far as just power in his leg.
Is there confidence that he'll be able to get that back?
Yeah, I think he'll get it back eventually. I think, I just don't know when, and I don't think anybody can really tell when. I just got to continue to do what he's got to do in there and see as many people as he can and stay off of it, I guess. Kind of like pulled muscle, I guess.
Jay, and get back to Alex really fast. Is there anything either in your visit or talks with doctors, anything that has gotten anything changed from the 6 to 8 month recovery, I think, timetable you were given before?
Yeah, not that I've been told, no.
And with Crowder and Quinn both kind of bouncing back and forth here, I mean, Is there a chance that both of them would be active, or would you only keep one of them active, or how would you do
No,
that?
there'd be a chance for sure. We'll just have to jerry-rig how we're going to do that. Right now, with Trey being limited, Crowder being semi-limited, we'll see probably this week play the most healthy one. If we can play both, we'll figure out a way to do that. So, the good thing about Jameson, he can play all three positions. Quinn can probably play all three also. He's a very smart guy. But we'll just have to figure out where we want to put them as far as matchups are concerned. But we could play both, to answer your question.
Jay, I know all games in this league are big, but you've lost 2 in a row. You've lost your starting quarterback. Do you feel a different level of pressure going to Philly for a Monday nighter, considering it's been a bit of a whirlwind last 24, 48 hours here as well?
Yeah, a little bit. I think there should be a sense of urgency without a doubt where we are in the season, what our record is. We're tied for first. Dallas is right there. Philly's right there. So anytime you can go on the road and get a key victory is very, very critical. And it's also important for our confidence and our psyche down the stretch. I don't think anybody's lost any confidence despite the injuries that we've had, especially to our quarterback. I think we all have faith in Colt. But to go out there and get a big win against the defending Super Bowl champs would do, I think, a lot of good for a lot of people.
The phrase Code Red game was something you dropped a few years ago. You got anything for this kind of game?
No, I think everybody knows the importance of this game. I think where we are right now as a football team, losing 2 in a row, like you said, there's still a lot of ball left, regardless of what happens in this game Monday night. But we do understand that when you're playing a division rival like Philadelphia, to try to get one on the road there would be very helpful.
Obviously, Philly was kind of in the situation you guys were last year with their backup, Nick Foles. Is there anything that you took from that and tried to apply to this year with, having
Yeah, I
Colt
think
step
you
in?
can learn a lot from that. One, nobody gave them a chance last year, and they went out and lost their starting quarterback and ended up winning a Super Bowl. You can learn a lot from that. It's about how the team rallies around certain people, and it's not about one guy. That defense stepped it up. Their offensive line stepped it up. The running game stepped it up. And, of course, Nick Foles did a great job in critical moments. So that's what we're trying to do. Our defense has got to step up without a doubt. We've got to be a better tackling team, play more physical. Our offensive line has got to step it up for sure. Our running game better step it up. And then Colt's got to make the plays necessary in critical situations.
Doug Peterson was telling us that they kind of try to incorporate some more RPO to have Nick Foles be more comfortable. Is there anything that you're doing with Colt that you're trying to make him more comfortable while keeping the structure of the offense?
Yeah, I think you try to get with Colt. Now you have time to really put a game plan together, and then you go out and practice and look at it. Sometimes the most important part of practicing is eliminating plays that he's not comfortable with instead of just putting they look good on the chalkboard and look at this guy's. But if he doesn't like them at the end of the day, we eliminate some, and then we focus in on the ones he's very comfortable with. I've never, ever put a play in that a quarterback's uncomfortable with. You can believe that if you want, but that's true. We talk about every play, and somebody might say something different, but I try to do that. We try to make them as comfortable as possible.
I think I might know. With Colt McCoy and last week throwing some of the back shoulder stuff and all that, how hard is that to get that time? Is that an easy or hard route to get the timing down? And is that one where it takes a little bit of time to build up that trust for them to know that he may take those kind of shots?
Which kind?
Some of those back shoulders last
Oh,
week.
yeah,
some of the
yeah.
shots
I think, we haven't given a lot of those guys opportunities, so it does take a little bit of time. It's a natural thing. Unless you call a back shoulder and say this is going to be a back shoulder, you call a go ball or a fade ball, and a guy's playing over the top, and a quarterback gives you a back shoulder opportunity. That takes precision, that takes work, that takes confidence in the quarterback, the receiver coming back to the ball and making those plays. So you see it all the time on Sundays. We haven't seen a lot of them. We saw one with Josh last week, which was huge. If we can incorporate that as part of our game, those are big chunk plays that we need to have.
Do you think there were some times where maybe they were a little bit surprised that he was going to them in certain situations where maybe they're not winning the route, but he's still going to them?
Yeah, I think there was. I think Vernon was a little bit surprised on his down the right sideline. He wasn't quite ready for it. He saw it late and then, kind of juggled it and dropped it. But, I think that's important. When you're working a guy and you don't have a lot of time and you think he's running down a sideline, you see the defensive back over the top, the natural instinct for a quarterback would be to back shoulder him. Now our receivers got to make sure they get their heads around and then adjust to the ball.
DJ's been a guy who's really emerged for you guys as a leader the past couple of years, but he made some comments that obviously got a lot of attention after the game and then again on Monday. Just curious what you made of those comments.
Yeah, the comments are the comments. He has his unique way of motivating the guys. I wasn't so upset about the comments as I was how he did it with the radio. You know, I think I just made a point to him, anytime you have an issue with anybody or anything that we're doing in-house, we keep it in-house, and we don't need to go on airwaves, and we'll talk about it as a team. So the point got across to him. His message was heard, but we just moved forward.
What's the balance in coach leadership versus player leadership? How do you try to encourage guys to be leaders, but also make sure that the power structure remains the way that it should be?
You have to have limits as far as, I'm concerned. You have to have rules and make sure that everybody understands that what we do in here stays in here, and that's the most important thing. There's so many different ways in social media and radio and newspapers and Twitter and all that stuff. You just got to be careful sometimes, and that's the most important thing. But as far as leadership goes, you can't coach leadership. You either have it or you don't. You can't force it. Luckily for us, we have some pretty good leaders in here. Some of them are more vocal than others, but we do have a good group of veteran guys and some young guys who are emerging.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
When you look at a quarterback like Carson, you guys obviously just dealt with Dak, a guy who's really special when it comes to extending plays and avoiding sacks in outside the pocket. What do you have to do against a guy who can do that and create in that way that is different than a more traditional pocket passer?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, you have players up front that can get after him, and get him down. He's a big frame guy, very similar to quarterbacks that, Andrew Luck was very similar, Ben, same thing. Just guys like that, that they can actually get them down physically. But overall, on the back end, you got to be able to plaster. The first game we didn't plaster. I think on the first possession, and they got to score. But, overall on the back end, we got to make sure to plaster because he can extend plays, get out of the pocket and break some, tackles that, you see that he does a lot. So we got to make sure we plaster on the backside.
How have you evaluated him and seen him progress as he's come back from the injury?
Yeah, I think it's just confidence in his knee, and confidence in his ability to play. Overall, he's got good targets to throw the ball to. They have a good running game. They got a good offensive line. So, he's just taking it in stride, kind of knows the system a little bit better, of course, after his second year. But he's having a lot of success, and he's playing good.
When you look back at the big plays from Amari Cooper, as a coordinator, do you just look at that and say, well, tough, Quentin Dunbar, he stumbled there. There's just some missed tackles. Or are there actual lessons you learn from just the way that you're set up?
Yeah, there is always lessons. Like sometimes the post safety and the angles that come out of the post safety, or guys that miss tackles. But we got to get them on the ground. That's the biggest thing. Is all the great defenses that I've been around. It's usually they can get them down right now, and the yak yardage is not as much. And that's what we didn't do. And that's very important when you play the game of football is tackling, and we got to do a better job tackling. We're practicing on the field, and we got to do a better job on Monday night.
From your perspective, how much have they changed how they use Wentz, as far as it doesn't seem like there's as many called runs as he was having, I guess, early last year?
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's the offense that they have. Overall, I think he can run, and he does scramble out of the pocket, but he does a great job of keeping his eyes up the field, and he makes a lot of positive plays out of those plays that he has because, guys on the back end don't plaster. So we got to make sure we do that.
Some of the big run plays you guys have given up have been through gaps where players were blitzing. Is that unlucky, or is there responsibilities missed in terms of a player basically checking the run before he goes on his blitz, or how does that work?
A couple times there's a couple misfits that we have, and it's very important to have the post safety making those plays. And one time we didn't have that support system in there, and they end up scoring, which we don't like, but we got to fix that.
How do you get back to the run defense that you had early in the season, as opposed to it's been, I guess, fallen off just a little bit these last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think that we got to, buckle down up front, get on the outside, set a good edge across the board, and have those inside linebackers, fill in those gaps the way they're supposed to. And we'll be back on track.
We obviously, I don't know if you heard at the end of what we're asking Jay of the DJ's comments, and he basically said, we want to keep that stuff in-house. But you talk about the content, the merit of what DJ said. Do you feel like your guys are still locked in and focused like they were earlier in the year as the practices get later in the week?
I think, playing 12 years in the National Football League, I think you got to have some humor. You know what I'm saying? We had the walkthroughs, last week it was a short week. And, having about an hour of a walkthrough or 50 minutes, it takes a little bit of toll. Their concentration level's not going to be focused for 50 minutes. But overall, we try to have a little fun doing it. We go through our, situational football and try to talk through it and, work the plays that we think we're going to get. With his comment, that's his comment he makes. What I'm trying to do is focus on everybody across the board, from the D-line to the linebackers to the DBs. But, overall, it is what it is.
How do you, over the course of a long season, obviously, as you said, you played a dozen years in the league, you understand the grind that this is. So
Yeah.
how do you try to keep things fresh so that guys can stay locked in as you get towards this playoff push?
Well, I think you got to pick up the meetings a little bit. You know what I'm saying? From an attention span, I think it is like 20 or 30 minutes, from a player's perspective, being in the meetings. After that, it kind of just overwhelms you a little bit, and then your mind starts to drift. But overall, I think that attention to detail, giving them a little bit of break here and there, even during practice. That's why we go back and forth, to give them a little bit of break so they could focus on what they're supposed to focus on. But, overall, my 12 years, it's a grind, from the first couple of weeks, and especially for young players. I mean, this is the time where we start the season really, saying it's pretty much now we got to start rolling. And for those young players, they've already played their 12 games and they're done, with 4 preseason games and the games that we already played. So this is when we have to pick it up. All right, guys, thanks.